New developments on the Republican push for an investigation of alleged Fisa abuses by the FBI and DOJ in the Russia probe. The internal watchdog of the Justice Department will examine accusations of misconduct in the process to obtain a warrant to surveil former Trump campaign advisor Carter Page. Inspector General Michael Horowitz's investigation comes at the request of Attorney General Jeff Sessions and congressional Republicans. Judge Napolitano thinks he will find wrongdoing.
I believe that the Inspector General will find a treasure trove, not just McCabe and company, but that is the most extreme violation we know of, because the target, the victim, is the President of the United States, though he was a candidate and then President-elect at the time. But he will find a treasure trove of abuses, going to Fisa, getting warrants when the law did not justify it.
All right, Kimberly, so nobody has actually read, I think even Nunes admitted, congressman from California on the Intel Committee, he hasn't actually read the underlying documents. Michael Horowitz, who's the Inspector General at the DOJ, now says that he is going to look into this as well. He's got a lot on his plate to investigate, but has the confidence of Attorney General Sessions as well as members of the Hill on the Republican and Democratic side. Tell me what you think are the most critical issues that they should look at.
Yeah, I mean, I think you want to make sure, like in terms of who's making the request, what evidence they're relying on to substantiate these claims, but we really have to give them the opportunity to go through it, because otherwise it's speculation in terms of what kind of violations or, treasure trove, et cetera, that they might uncover. But I'm always interested in who is proffering the evidence, where they're getting it from what sources, because we've seen some of these abuses in the past in terms of information that was proffered that really wasn't accurate, that wasn't probative, that wasn't verified. So I think that's important to check out in terms of what they might be looking for.
Well, we don't. I don't think we don't have they're all looking into all of those things. There's a ton of accusations, and part of this, Jesse, comes from the text messages between the two FBI agents who are having an affair,
right,
and they're going back and forth. And one of the allegations is that there was coordination between the White House and the FBI, and that it should have been more independent than that. This is during the Obama administration.
Right, not just the Obama White House, but the Obama White House, the FBI, the DOJ, Harry Reid, the CIA, and Hillary Clinton. If you just take it from the beginning, Hillary paid for the fake dossier filled with Russian lies. Then you have a Hillary donor who was the one that sent the FBI the tip about Papadopoulos. So these Trump-hating FBI agents opened up the counterintelligence investigation. Then all of a sudden, John Brennan, the CIA director under President Obama, comes along and briefs Harry Reid about the dossier. Harry Reid then turns around and writes a letter to James Comey urging him to open an investigation into the Trump campaign. At the same time, the Obama chief of staff at the White House, Dennis McCullough, had been talking and had been briefed by the counterintelligence division of the FBI about the Trump campaign investigation, and from what we believe, he was urging it to move forward. So the briefing from Brennan to Reid was then leaked and wound up in the Isikoff article. The Isikoff article was used as a justification for the warrantless spying on Carter Page. It's funny because Carter Page has never been charged with a crime and was an FBI informant for many, many years. So James Comey takes this information and brings it to the FISA court judge. It's all unverified and unsubstantiated, the dossier, as we've been over, and uses the Isikoff article as well. And as this is all happening, the FBI agents text and they say, "Here we go." So the allegation is that they have, through all of these people, laid the groundwork and laid the legitimacy for the surveillance on the Trump campaign. So after Trump's elected, James Comey then briefs the president on the salacious dossier, and that same day, CIA director under Obama, Brennan, leaks the information to CNN. So when all these congressional investigators start asking questions and asking for documentation, they get stonewalled by the FBI and the DOJ. I mean, the coordination's amazing. If only Republicans could coordinate as effectively as the Democrats.
It's one of the things I think that Steve Bannon said before he left was that how could we collude? We can't actually get anything done.
Exactly.
Greg, your thoughts?
Fair point.
First, imagine if this kind of evidence was presented under a President Hillary Clinton that was against her, undermining her. The media would be in their pink hats, making protest signs out of discarded Whole Foods bags. But it's not. It's under Trump. But I'm not going to be like them. I'm not going to get hysterical over this. This is, to me, one of the longest dances I've ever seen in politics. I call it the collusion two-step. Step one, it's a Trump-Russian collusion. Step two, no, it's a coordination among officials within the Trump-Russia probe. And this two-step just keeps going on and on. It's the world's worst duel. It's like Hamilton for boring people. So
I'm not going to dance the night away.
I know, but you're good at this. I'm terrible at this. I recommend we declare this beef a tie. And like, in soccer, where the end of the game is 0-0, we can settle this with penalty kicks.
All right.
This is a zero-sum game. It's like, just have each side do penalty kicks. Or we should just start treat it like the Russian diplomat thing. We should start expelling people on each side.
Okay.
Dana, but the news just came in that Attorney General Sessions has stated that there will be no special second counsel needed now, and that's based on review of the materials from a federal prosecutor that has been tasked with this for now. It doesn't mean there won't come later, but for the time being, there won't be one assigned.
In addition to that, there was breaking news. Yesterday we had the news that the New York Times broke that the president's former lawyer, John Dowd, had approached the lawyers for Michael Flynn and Paul Manafort about the possibility of a pardon, and John Dowd saying, oh, yeah, that didn't really happen, but they have a lot of sources on it. And then the other thing is, the other story that just broke is that Reuters says that there is additional investigation. Mueller looking into the actual conversations that were taking place at the convention in Ohio for the Republicans, especially looking into how that language about Ukraine got watered down so much in the platform.
Wow. So, I mean, there's real news. I mean, all of this seems to me to be striking because, again, it puts the presidency in a very tenuous position. If, in fact, you have John Dowd, no longer the president's top lawyer, but John Dowd, reaching out to lawyers for Paul Manafort and Mike Flynn to discuss the possibility of pardons, that's direct obstruction of the Mueller investigation, because the idea, in fact, Manafort has yet to strike a deal, and people are wondering what's going on there because he's facing serious jail time.
Although, can I just interrupt one thing on that point? I was listening to The Daily this morning, the podcast from the New York Times, and one of the things I think was effectively said by somebody for John Dowd, I think actually it was John Dowd, he said, what would we have even pardoned them for? You can't just give like a blanket pardon for, like, you're pardoned.
Well, he didn't have to wait long because guess what? They're indicted. So
right,
now,
but you couldn't offer a pardon before you know what they were going to be indicted for.
No, but you can hang out there the possibility of a pardon.
And that's the issue, right?
And then, once they are indicted, say, oh, you know what? No need to cooperate. No need to tell your tale that might be damning to the president because the president has the power to pardon you. But in this case, although the president's power is pretty much unlimited with regard to pardons, in this case, because he's the one under investigation, it would be illegal. It would be not necessarily legal. I shouldn't say that. It would allow Robert Mueller then to say there's an obstruction of justice case based on the behavior of the president's lawyer.
Well,
and the
so
second
who would do
thing,
that, then?
The second thing is with regard to the Ukraine and the watering down of the language at the convention. Again, here is Russia playing a role potentially, if this story is true, Dana, that really, again, undermines the democratic process. That even Republicans can't get their own policy platform in place without Russian interference.
Well, but you can change a policy without
interference.
And they have, because now the policy with regards to Ukraine is much tougher than it was under President Obama. We've sold them missiles and hard arms where Obama was giving them food.
Absolutely.
You forget that Russia was upset that we were putting anti-missile devices in Poland and other places there under the Obama administration, and then decided they were going to take that aggressive action in the Ukraine. And
Obama's anti-missile defense in Eastern Europe was not as robust as George W. Bush's
Can I make one last point on this?
Yes,
President Trump's being much more aggressive.
I just want to make one last point. This FISA thing I think is total distraction. But guess what? In January of just this year, you had 191 House Republicans, and you had 43 of the, 52 Senate Republicans vote to reauthorize this, and President Trump signed it.
That's a very good transition from my question to Greg, which is I think there are some people who are hoping for some sort of Ed Snowden moment to, if they're worried about government interference and privacy and Fourth Amendment things, hoping that a review by the Inspector General about this specific case will lead to some sort of wholesale review or the elimination of the FISA court.
Perhaps. I don't know. All I know is I just see every single day they have to find something new that
like
isn't working.
Opera.
Well, no, it is. It goes. I go back to the golf bag of weaponry. It's like you have the iron of, Stormy Daniels. You have Russia. You had his physical health. You had mental instability. Every day there's something, and the language that is used in all of these attacks against President Trump use the phrase, it suggests possible X. It's never it is. It suggests possible X. So now when you talk about these FISA things, we can use, the Republicans or the conservatives can say, this suggests possible coordination. So now the anti-Trumpers are feeling what they have been doing all along to everybody else, using wishy-washy language. Clearly, though, there is a group of people high up in the corridors of power who are figuring out a way to get rid of Trump because they believe they had a higher purpose that put them above the law. And they realized that, you know what, if they don't do it, it's them against the world, so they have to do it. So they should be willing to be punished for what they are doing wrong because clearly they were driven by some kind of irrational, emotional panic.
That was almost the exact quote from a congressional staffer on the Republican side.
Really? And I didn't even read the notes.
An anonymous one who said, we're not saying that anything actually was untoward here. We're not saying anything was improper. We're just saying it should be looked into. And guess what? Now it'll be looked into, and we get to move on.
But we think they'll be sorry. The thing is, this whole panic... Well, because this drives me crazy. This whole panic was created by two groups, the anti-Trump media, who didn't think their Trump obsession would get him elected, and it did, and now they feel really guilty about it, and government officials who became politically activated once this happened. That's what you're seeing right now.
Yeah, maybe it's about Trump.
Yeah, well, it is about Trump. It is about Trump.
Chaotic president.
It's a refreshing breath of fresh air,
Ron. Maybe that's it.
All right.
Irrationally so.